What was Détente's human rights legacy from Helsinki? Have you ever wondered how a diplomatic agreement could change the lives of people living under oppressive regimes? The Helsinki Accords of 1975 provide a fascinating example of this. The human rights legacy of Détente, as seen in these accords, is quite significant. The agreement created a framework that empowered dissidents and human rights activists in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. The Helsinki Final Act was signed by the United States, the Soviet Union, and various European nations. It included principles divided into 3 sections, often referred to as baskets. The third basket specifically focused on human rights and humanitarian issues. This included important topics like freedom of movement, family reunification, and respect for fundamental freedoms. Initially, the Soviet Union and its allies viewed these human rights provisions as a mere concession. They believed it was a way to secure recognition of their post-world, were Roman II borders and political status. However, the inclusion of these rights gave dissidents an official document to reference. This document became a powerful tool for holding their governments accountable. Before the Helsinki Accords, criticizing communist regimes was incredibly difficult due to strict controls during the Cold War. The Accords provided a legal and moral basis for such criticism. Activists used the language from the agreement to challenge repression and demand greater freedoms. One notable example is Charter 77, a movement in Czechoslovakia that emerged in response to these human rights provisions. Looking at the broader context, the human rights legacy of the Helsinki Accords reflects the tensions of Détente. Superpowers were trying to reduce direct conflict and manage their rivalry through diplomacy. Yet, ideological and political repression continued within communist states. While the Accords did not directly address the Vietnam War, they symbolized a shift in Cold War dynamics. The emphasis on human rights in Helsinki influenced United States foreign policy, including its approach to Vietnam. The Accords helped shape the moral and political discourse surrounding communist regimes. This indirectly affected how the United States justified its involvement in Vietnam and later disengagement. On a practical level, the Helsinki process introduced mechanisms for monitoring compliance. This increased international scrutiny of human rights abuses. Although the Soviet Union continued to suppress dissent, the Accords planted seeds for future political change. They contributed to the erosion of Soviet control in Eastern Europe and the decline of communist regimes. In essence, the human rights legacy of Détente from Helsinki established an internationally recognized standard. Dissidents could invoke this standard as a subtle yet powerful challenge to authoritarian control in the Eastern Bloc. It also played a role in the shifting geopolitical landscape that shaped Cold War conflicts, including the Vietnam War.